In part 1, we saw Ben teach a whole class interactive lesson on coordinates. In this second part, we're going to see him organise the class into different groups. And he's going to do that according to ability levels based on the progress and attainment the children have so far had in relation to this topic. On one table, he will give an extension task to those children that have made most progress and have demonstrated higher levels of ability. On 2 tables will be most of the children doing the sort of work that's appropriate for the level of the average child in this class at this point in the year. And then we're also going to see a table where there's some students who need some additional support because perhaps they've missed school or maybe have a learning difficulty.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our tables in a couple of minutes. We're going to work in our groups and you're going to do some tasks within your different groups. Now each group has got a different task, so we just need to stay down here for a couple of minutes and I'm going to go through which task which group is going to do. Now first, group 1, if you could be patient, because you're going to go and work with Mr. Hare in a little while and he's going to explain your activity that you will be doing with him. Now group 2, you're going to get a worksheet that looks like this. Now it says plot the points on a 10 times 10 grid to tell you what shape it will make, and you can write the answer on the line. Okay, so you're going to plot the points on the grid, and basically you need to work out what shape it is. So you're a little bit more advanced than what we've just been doing, because we're even bringing shape into it, which we've done earlier on in the year, obviously. Okay. Now, when you get to your tables, you can do each shape as a different colour. That's why I've put lots of different colour pencils on there, so you can see which is which. Does everybody understand that in group 2? Group 2, put your hand up. Put your hands up for me, and give me thumbs up if you understand that task. Okay, fantastic. Now, group 2, if you can be just as patient as group 1 and group 3 were then, while I explain group 3's task. Now, group 3, I'm also going to come over and give you a little bit of support with this, because I'm going to try and challenge you a little bit with this next one. Because the task's very similar to what group 2 were doing then. We are going to be looking at coordinates and looking at how they make shapes, but what I want you to do first is try and have a go and have like a guess or a prediction what you think those coordinate points, what shape they would make before you even plot them. So for example, you might do number 1 first. You might have a guess, you might think it's going to be a square, and then try it. So plot them on your grid. So for example, if you thought it was going to be a square and it turns out to be a rectangle, you can put that it was a rectangle. Now, like I said, I'm going to come over and just make sure that you're understanding that, because I know that I'm pushing you on a little bit with that challenge. But does everybody understand that to start with in group 3? Okay, good stuff. Right, now, what we need to do quickly, quietly and sensibly, if you are in group 1, can you stand up for me? Cool. Can you take those over to Mr. Hare as well, please? And can you go and take a seat with Mr. Hare, and Mr. Hare will tell you what's happening. If you are in group 3, can you stand up, please? Right, can you go and take a seat at your table? You'll all need them each, a sheet and a grid each. And finally, group 2, can you go and take a seat at your table, please? I'll come and give you your sheets while you sit there. As soon as you get there, guys, you can get your pencils out and you can get on with your task. Group 3, I shall be over to you in just a second, once to know everybody's on with their task. So you're going to be doing that one. I'm going to, but you can use this grid to put here. Then you can move it. Where? Good. So think about it. You've got to guess which it is. Is that actually drawn a triangle there? Could that be a triangle when it's got 4 points? How many points?
6, very good. And then you need to look at the other. The second what comes second after the other. Okay boys, so let's have a look. Would someone, how about Aman, would you like to just remind us of what the objective was of this lesson? So what we're going to be doing in this worksheet. It's just at the top, the Walt.
To use coordinates to find position.
Fantastic, brilliantly read. Position, we looked at that word, Mr. Froggatt showed us that word at the beginning of the lesson. Nathan, can you explain a little bit about what it is?
It's like football position, because say look, Jordan plays in midfield and that means you have to keep on running up and down the wing. Goalkeepers have to stay in the box. Defenders have to stay by the box to keep the goalkeeper safe and the striker stays in the other half.
Excellent, brilliant explanation. What positions do you play in?
Up front.
Up front, excellent Nathan. So that's position, it's your place. So in this worksheet we're going to be looking for the places, using coordinates to find some of the places, the position of these things. Okay, Morgan, why don't you read what we have to do in number 1 and we'll find out what we have to do.
Record the coordinates for the hanging items.
Excellent, very good. So when you're looking, great. So excellent, so we've got our starting point is at the bottom, and whereabouts was our starting point in the grid again when you're looking for these coordinates? Nathan?
0.
0, excellent, it's start at 0. What do you have to do next? Does anyone remember Mr. Froggatt's tip for where you have to start, which direction you have to go first, then where you need to go? Jordan, have you got this?
Is it corridor?
It's something to do with a corridor. Yeah, it's something to do with, remember he used something like a building. You have to go along something, then up something. What do you have to go along, and then what do you have to go up?
Go up. No, you go along the corridor.
Along the corridor, excellent. And then you go up?
Stairs.
Brilliant. So the along bit, is that horizontal or vertical?
Horizontal.
It's horizontal, excellent. And the up bit? Aman?
Vertical.
No. Brilliant. So if we have a look at number 1, what do you think the first coordinate, just the first one,
8.
is going to be for the which? It's going to be 8. Does everyone agree? Jordan, do you agree?
Yeah.
And the second one, Jordan, is going to be?
1. Which one? Yeah, 1.
It's going to be 1. Excellent. So do you all agree?
Yeah.
Yep. Nathan, Aman, brilliant. Give yourself a tick next to both of them. What I want you to do now is see if you can work as quickly as possible between you. See if you can do the next 3. When you've finished, cover the answers and then we'll check each other's answers. Just give me a shout when you're done.
So Ben, that was a really interesting piece of group work that you led there in that lesson. Tell me about what the important things are for a teacher in setting up group work to be effective.
I think the groups need to, the children need to know which groups they're in prior to going and working on the task, because if they don't know, that can just interrupt your lesson. You can be saying, Tommy, you're in this group, Jack, you're in this group, Luke, you're in that group. Whereas if you know, using your own formative assessment, which groups they're already in, it doesn't restrict the flow of the lesson, and also the children know what's expected of them.
So setting up your routine very clearly beforehand so the children know exactly what they're going to do and where they're going to go.
Yeah.
Great. And what about the different tasks? Tell me about, you had an extension task for some of the learners, you had support from Mr. Hare and for another group, and then you had the other children. What was your thinking in doing that, and how will that relate to the last part of the lesson? What
I tend to do when in any lesson is I try and plan for the average child, for the middle ability children, and then for the children that need a little more support, I take the level down a little, where either through extra support or just that's not as complex to start with. The way I will link it into the plenary session of my lesson is I will use the resource which are used in the starter, but I will ask the group 3, so those children, to try and tell some of the other children what they were doing within their extension task, and which will hopefully sort of teach them and model to them what's expected for the next step in all the rest of the children's learning.
Right, so Seb, you're a teacher, but in this video you took on the role of a learning support assistant.
Yeah.
What's one really important role for a learning support assistant in this type of group work?
I think one of the key things, particularly when starting out introducing the task that's been set by the teacher, is revisiting the lesson objectives, redefining them, breaking them down and explaining them in a way that's accessible to the possibly lower ability students. That would mean possibly at some stage redefining some of the key words. I went through position, I think, at one point, just to make sure that everyone is aware what they're working towards, you know, what the point is of what they're doing, so then they can progress after that.
Great, and what else is really important?
I think it's also important to, if there's one particular student, for example, struggling with a particular area, or there's a particular obstacle to learning, is to try and kind of remove that barrier by questioning, particularly, so they can find their way over that barrier, basically. So I think it was with Jordan at one point, I was explaining along the corridor and up the stairs, so just kind of reminding of some of those things that we learned earlier in the lesson, so he can then explain it in his own words and figure out the answer.